Welcome back at the main stage here at the We Love Travel, powered by ITB Berlin and the Berlin Travel Festival. My name is Leah Jordan and I'm here today with Bernd Nawrath. Bernd, thank you so much for joining. Great you're here with us.
Hi, Leah. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, now on this stage, it's all about the creative force of the crisis. So Bernd, I'm very looking forward to the coming panel that you're hosting. And the question is, COVID-19, is it the big accelerator of digitization in the tourism industry, or isn't it? We'll find out.
Exactly. So thank you very much for that nice introduction.
Yes.
That is the question we will talk about in the next 45 minutes, and I'm pleased to switch over to German now.
But give me a second, because we all do want to know, who is Bernd Nawrath? So let me give you a quick overview about his background. So Bernd has more than 35 years experience in the industry around travel technology. Bernd has worked with companies like Sabre, DCS Merlin, and Traffics. Bernd is today a freelance consultant focusing mainly on digital transformation, but also on process and gap analysis and strategy developments. That's what he's working on with his customers. And also, the same as Claudia Freimuth, he's co-founder of the NTL, the New Travel League. And well, the floor is yours, Bernd. I'm wishing you a fruitful discussion. Have fun.
Yeah, once again. So that was a real nice introduction. And now I'm pleased to switch over to German.
Ich freue mich jetzt. I'm happy to switch over to German now. I think there are two facts which we need to look at.
Und auf den Punkt gebracht, die eine ist,
So, to make it concise, I think that the crisis has really hit all of us hard and unexpected. And the other fact is all of us love to travel. And us who love traveling also have got another function. So that function is that we economically are dependent on other people traveling because that's our business. So we are facing a special challenge here due to the crisis, in the crisis. On the one hand, we need to survive as businesses, but we, on the other hand, know that survival in the crisis is not enough. We need to equip ourselves for the time after the crisis. We need to position ourselves. And the phase after that, we know that as well, will probably be quite different from what we saw before. So we have got changes we need to live with, and we already need to take that into consideration in everything we do now. So the creative force of digitization and rather of the crisis, and digital turnaround in tourism. So this is what we want to talk about in the next 45 minutes. We have put together a panel from different companies from the industry in order to cover a quite broad spectrum. I'm looking forward to a rather intriguing discussion. Please welcome with me Barbara Heinbockel from Tourism Agency Schleswig-Holstein and Lukas C. Hempel from Bookingkit. Both of them are not on stage right now. They'll join us digitally. But still, a very warm welcome to both of you. Here on the ground, I've got Uwe Frers from ADAC Camping and Stefan Ferradi from Midoko Group. So this much by way of introduction. I would like to start our round by introducing Barbara Heinbockel. Barbara Heinbockel is the head of digital management of the tourism agency Schleswig-Holstein, and together with her team, she designs the digital communication of travel destination Schleswig-Holstein. So from online marketing to being in charge of social media channels up to open data and tourism. She's quite enthusiastic about digital processes that make life easier and says, in times of crisis, it becomes clear how great the need for travelers for digital solutions is. Barbara, I would like to ask you to put this into concrete terms from the perspective of the federal state of Schleswig-Holstein as a travel destination. Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, in our context, in our federal state, we noticed quite quickly that it was necessary to change the way how people travel in Corona. And sometimes our guests had already moved on more than we had. And so they are used to using their mobile phone, and especially in a crisis situation as this one, they were used to saying, well, why can't I just have a digital solution for this thing? So why can't I just register online? Why can't I simplify processes? And here we saw that our guests, some of our guests are really quite advanced. I mean, there are different kind of offerings in the country, also digital offerings, and some of the guests were very happy to try those out. But really, the guests were a real push factor for companies of offering more digital solutions. Barbara, you said your guests really asked for digital solutions. So is there, can you put this into concrete terms? Was there a point where you noticed that dealing with a crisis has got something to do with the fact that your guests were dependent on digital communication or asked for digital communication? Well, I think a good example here is the beach traffic light system. And so, which is also used on a federal German level, so with concrete examples like St. Peter-Ording on the North Sea beach. They initiated a beach traffic light system, and the guests really liked that. So yes, they said this is what we needed in order to behave accordingly, so to be able to travel in a way that I can be informed right before I start the journey, and I can really enjoy traveling in these crisis times. Yeah, that's a very important point. I mean, during the crisis, directing the movement of your guests was important. So how quickly could you implement that with the beach traffic light system? Well, it happened quite quickly in St. Peter-Ording and also at the Bay of Lübeck, because the authorities there are quite active, and they really want to make use of technical possibilities, and they already had got certain ideas in the backs of their heads. So they were quite quick in implementing these things in a multi-step approach. Now I would like to introduce Uwe Frers. Introducing Uwe Frers is a contradiction in terms, because I believe everybody has been knowing Uwe for a long period of time as an entrepreneur and a founder of startups. Currently, Uwe is in charge of digital processes with ADAC camping, and in this context, his first product emerged, the camping portal PiNCAMP. So when we're talking about camping, you rather quickly have got an association such as, well, your jogging suit and your slippers, and we don't need to change anything. We've always done things this way, and things have always been good this way. Why should we change anything? However, I don't know whether I'm totally wrong, but when I hear what Uwe said about the situation, he said the following. He said the camping boom is preventing the urgently needed digitization of the industry. The ones who suffer are the campers themselves. So for me, this sounds a little bit, well, our customer are threatening us into asking us to do a job. We don't need this. No. I mean, this is rather a clear statement saying we are lacking something in the industry. Yeah. Can you please explain your statement? I don't really understand it. Well, camper is booming, so camping used to be a rather marginal thing, but over the last 10 years, there has been a boom. So we have got over 60% of increase in new registrations with camping mobiles. And at the same time, we have stagnations in the numbers of camping sites. And so more and more people want to go there, but there are not more camping sites. So in the past, you just went to one camping site. If you liked it, you stayed there. If you didn't, you just went to another one. And that doesn't work anymore because there is more demand than supply. So people need to book and stay there. This was quite difficult over the last 2 seasons. Why? I mean, we had a sensational summer 2 years ago, and it became really crowded on those campsites. So now in Corona, things are different. And in May, the campsites were allowed to open again. There was a huge run on camping. First, there are so many campers around anyways, and then people believe that it's rather secure. You can travel there with your own vehicle, you have got your own bathroom with you, you're out there in nature. Everybody wanted to camp. So people were thinking, how can I find the right campsite? And this brings us to the problem at hand. Currently, in the industry, there is no overview about availabilities. So you just Google your campsite. Either you can book it online, then you're lucky, or the majority you can't book them online, so you give them a call, you send them an email, and once the campsites were opened, there were so many campsites who received 300 to 400 emails per night, who just unplugged their telephone, or they left a message on the answer phone saying, give us another call at 4 weeks from now. And so there is no solution for the problem. If I want to find out where I can find an accommodation on a campsite, and this is a solution we want to offer here. We want to offer a solution for this problem. Now, when I hear this, I ask myself, are the campsite providers aware that they need to invest now into technology, into processes which they don't really know, in order and to just fence off their business for the future? Or are they just saying, I'm always booked out, I've got this long waiting list, why should I do anything? So is the product ready for this?
I think you need to differentiate here. There are approximately 26,000 campsites in Europe. And if we look at a complete European situation, then Southern Europe, Southwest, France, Croatia, to some extent Italy and Spain, in particular the Benelux countries, are way further ahead compared to us. Most of the campsites can be booked online, and many of the campsites are located on central booking platforms, and you can book them there. And in Germany, we are lagging behind, and there are many reasons for that. I think we have a trend that, I worry, first of all, and I rather see the problem and not the opportunity. And this general feeling, I'm skeptical at first, is really prevailing in the camping industry. And campsites are usually 50 to 60 years old. It's just before generational change. Digitalization hasn't been the driver, and many campsites are small, up to medium-sized, family owned businesses, and this is different from the European situation. France, Croatia, these are professionally campsites. In Germany, we have short seasonal opening times, difficult. And I think it doesn't have to do with the fact that people don't want to deal with digitization, but the access is difficult for them, and the consumer has changed. The consumer isn't the one that we described beforehand, but these are modern young people who want to go to campsites. And when booking a campsite, they want the same convenience as with other travelers. Thanks, Uwe. Now, I'd like to continue and present to you Lukas Hempel. Lukas Hempel is founder and CEO of Bookingkit. And in this position, he's responsible for sales, product development, and customer success. Bookingkit offers fully digital software as a service for travel and activity providers. And Bookingkit connects and supports different sales channels, online and offline, with bookable experience. And what I particularly liked is the product description. You say it's called bookable experiences. In other words, destination activities. And that what package tour tourists would call additional services. Lukas Hempel says about his entrepreneurial and performance due to Corona. From the worst, we get to the best year of all times. And that is if you do it correctly. Lukas, well, how do you do it correctly? Tell us. Thanks a lot, Bernd. So Bookingkit offers a solution for many providers in a digital way, and 2020 was one of the worst years we had to adapt. I can't hear. So many had to switch. What was true yesterday, it's not applicable today. But there are many interesting stories which encourage us. We work together with tour operators, providers of boat tours. And I want to tell you a story of Antonio. Antonio, you can see him in a picture. He is a tour operator provider from South Italy, and he's just an example from the industry. He made his hobby into his profession, and Antonio is a provider of boat tours. He has one boat and offer tours, and he could live with it more or less. And he always wanted to do it. It was always his hobby, his passion. And when in March, Italy was one of the countries most affected by Corona, then Antonio, overnight, he didn't just have any job, but like no hope. And he could have said, well, I give up, but he said, no, I won't put my head into the sand, so to speak. And he thought about how could the time look after lockdown, and Antonio sat down and said, I need to face digitization. I need to be more flexible after Corona. And he really did it. I can't hear the speaker now. So he created a new booking system, he created a new website, and he used all kinds of marketing channels, Google and so on. And when the lockdown was over, then Antonio felt so well that so many local tourists wanted to travel again. And the Americans were missing, but there were many Italians who wanted to use tour activities. And we talked with Antonio 2 months after lockdown, and he told me, Lukas, you know, my business has completely changed from the worst year of my life. It now has become the best year of my life. For the first time in my life, the biggest problem I face now is to get a second boat to transport all the people. And that's like a story that can give us courage. From worst year for Antonio at the beginning of the year and then to the best year. And he seized the opportunity and he said, I need to adapt, I need to change. The world around me changes. I need to become digital. And now he has 2 boats and works with an employee for the first time in his life. And now he's really successful, and he's quite optimistic for the year 2020. And that's a great story for us. Well, thanks a lot, Lukas. The title is called The Creative Force, and I think we here on stage need to be a bit creative. Hopefully you could hear it better than me here on stage, because some parts of Lukas' presentation I couldn't hear, but we are quite creative in filling the gaps, and I think we can improvise a bit. A question to you, Lukas. You told us about an encouraging story, and I think we all need those kind of stories nowadays. How much can it be scaled up to your business and our business? And can it be replicated? Is it a unique case, or do you think that this was a trigger of the crisis and it can be scaled up? Yeah, definitely. We see in the market for tour activities was way larger than way before, and long-distance travelers weren't possible, so we needed to offer tour activities. I couldn't travel far with the kids. You go to the zoo, you go to a park, or you travel to the German coast towns. So we see it in a quite diverse way. In total, the market of tour activities has increased by 20% in the summer period, 20% more compared to last year. So local tourism has extremely increased. Of course, there are always winners and losers. There are also some providers who weren't able to switch their business so quickly, but it's quite exciting and you can learn a lot from those new providers. Well, thanks a lot. There are winners and losers. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome Stefan Ferradi. He's the CEO of Heinbockel Holding. I always want to make sure that I stated correctly. We've known each other for so long, so I don't really know what his title is. So at the moment, he's the CEO of Heinbockel Holding. Heinbockel, as a mere technology company, you can say complete investment goods industry. How does it present itself in the crisis? You are active in the travel industry with Heinbockel and Umbrella AG from Switzerland. And I'd be very pleased if you can tell us about your experience. You basically said without loyalty and joint action, it's not possible to overcome the crisis. Explain it to us. Well, first of all, I'm always happy to hear encouraging stories, and surely there are areas and segments of the tourist industry where booking systems are difficult, and Heinbockel does software for the travel industry, selling travels, and we're responsible for many thousands of bookings, and from one day to the next, then we're also responsible for thousands of cancellations, so the business never boring. And we thought a lot about it. What's important in crisis apart from the regular taking care of the customers, and that's digitization. And we just looked at where we are currently when it comes to travel sales. And the work we started many years ago, and which brought us into the market, we were able to send our teams to the home office. They can work from home. You can take different paths, and it was possible from now, from one day to the other. And digitization already took place in the last years. And the question we ask ourselves is, what if Corona had hit us 10 years ago? If you look at 10 years ago, then Zoom didn't exist, and Teams was founded in 2017. And these are tools which we deal with quite naturally now. And also travel tools were just in their infancies, they offer travel advice and so on and so forth. So when it comes to the point in time of the Corona crisis, we were able to react quite quickly to it. And of course, there were many small things that had to be done here or there, apart from legal things when it comes to the insurance or the reduction of the value-added tax. It presented quite some challenges for us to become active for our customers. But in general, the technology was well equipped to deal with the crisis. However, the question is it really decisive? If no plane can take off, if no hotel is open, if people are not allowed to travel or cannot travel, then the greatest form of digitalization doesn't help us at all. So apart from the many technical aspects that we had to deal with, we also looked at the relationships which we have with customers, with businesses, with stakeholders and partners. So many things happen there. And of course, we have to find new ways of cooperation, especially with our customers. We're in a field of tension. On the one hand, we have to keep up operation if suddenly travels kick in again. We had June and July, where we did a quick calculation of the foreseen travels, and the curve went up for us in our heads. And of course, you always have to find technical solutions. And at the same time, we have price discussions because customers aren't able anymore to pay original invoices. So what we need is an extreme relationship management. And that was one of the most important things for us, is to find ways together with our customers to find financial possibilities how to manage the crisis together. And we can only do it together. And the same thing holds true for employees. You have to be able to also get your team on board. If you introduce things like short-term work, and then you also have to keep up motivation and to think ahead. And we put a lot of emphasis on it, and we communicated towards all directions. We looked at where and how we are positioned, how should we do it in the future and after the crisis in order to create the right space for the future. Steffen, let's talk about the keyword. You mentioned, what does it help us if there's no airplane taking off anymore, if the hotels are closed, if traveling isn't possible anymore as before the crisis? I want to use this as keywords for the next round. What concrete measures during the crisis help you to overcome the crisis and are also helpful for the customers to overcome the crisis and in the phase following it, which may be a different one? Many things have already changed, but possibly it can also be a phase before a crisis. I'd like to start with you again. Yeah, sure. After the crisis is before the crisis. And everything that we try to introduce with methods and measures has as its goal that if there's a possible next case or an up and down, as we see it with the current corona crisis, that we try to find ways and working methods with our customers that show a lot of flexibility. We really try to find new price models together with our customers. And of course, we have a joint risk. And it worked for many, many years. And suddenly, it doesn't work anymore. We just see that some offices were just closed. Nevertheless, we need to keep up and maintain our operation. How you can save this? How can you solve it? And we invested a lot of time and effort to find new price models and pricing models, and where we thought about how to spread the risk in a different way. And maybe this helps us for the next crisis. And what's important is to have long-term partnerships. And it was a good experience that we've made. We had intense and really collaborative talks with our customers. We didn't think just about 2020 and beyond 2020, but we thought about the next 20, 30 years. Yeah, you mentioned flexibility, new pricing models, and to support systems in a procedural way in order to be equipped if anything else is going to happen. I'd like to address the question also to the others, to Lukas Hempel. What concrete measures for crisis management and survival in this situation are the ones that also pay off for the customer?
Ich glaube, die Ereignisse von dieser Woche in den Niederlanden.
I believe the events in these weeks in the Netherlands, in France, but also here in Germany have shown this. We are at the beginning of a second wave, and many of us have hoped, including myself, that there wouldn't be a second wave, that Corona might be even over. But no, all of us have to react to the current situation. This is a situation which will remain with us long into 2021. And to just survive the crisis, and there are 3 recommendations which we have. First, stop trying to sell what you can't sell. I know there are things which were just great in 2019, but they don't work in 2020, neither 2020 to 2021. And probably you won't be able to sell them over a longer period of time. They just won't work. So this situation will remain with us for a longer period of time. So stop selling things which people don't want to buy, even if it's painful. Secondly, start selling things which sell. Unfortunately, we cannot hear what the speaker is saying. No. So, touring, for example, whether I stay at home or whether I travel regionally, that's a great thing. So if I offer this, I can ask myself, what are the products which work well? I have to change my product offering in a way that my guests don't need to worry and that they might catch the disease. So they have to work in the current situation. So I can change my product offerings and I can change the market. And thirdly, I have to remain and be flexible. I have to be flexible to a level which works with my customer self. So you know how quickly you can just end up in quarantine and you totally have to change your plans. So our customers expect a high level of flexibility from us, and we just need to ensure that we can just implement this on the operative level. So I talked to somebody who's renting out boats, and he says 60% of his business is cancellations and reimbursements. And so the new situation needs to be automized. You don't have the manpower to do this all of the time. Thanks a lot, Lukas. So to rephrase this, you just need to clear up your product range and you have to remain flexible. This is what is needed in the crisis. Uwe, do you agree for your segment, or are there other points where you'd say yes, and this is where we need to go beyond the crisis, but this is also what will make us successful in the long run? Well, I totally agree with Lukas. So people who offer tourism need to remain flexible. So currently we have got a crisis, but at some point we will have normality. So this is about staff, lackage, or shortage. You can always do a lot with digitization. So what has the crisis done so far? What has it led to so far? So firstly, it has led to a situation that our consumer is just using the digital devices just taking for granted. My 9-year-old daughter is using Microsoft Teams at school, and she is much better than me. And if you have got a board meeting, they just meet digitally. So that is the new normal. So the crisis has become an accelerator here, a catalyst. So business models which used to work more or less in the past probably won't survive after the crisis. So I believe that there will be a consolidation in this market, and I think that those will survive who can produce in a digital efficient manner, and they will survive the crisis. And this is also a question of cash flow. Barbara, May I ask you here, in the context of managing the crisis, new business models, product diversification, new price models, and if I get this right, in Schleswig-Holstein, there are new digital processes around which are already established there. Does this have anything to do with new challenges for the crisis currently or for the time afterwards? Well, I would like to get back to a number of topics. So, the power of the crisis. I believe we really need to also value the creativity in what we are doing right now. So I would like to encourage you to just see all the provisional things which we are doing right now, see this by way of a prototype, and we can learn a lot for the future. So just being courageous, all the destinations, regional offers of people who offer services on a regional level very often don't see themselves as innovators, but maybe they can innovate now. And this is something which I would wish for. I also see many things which are happening here, and I believe that digitization is the path which we need to embark on. Then, if I look at our perspective from Schleswig-Holstein as an overall destination, we say that please don't forget about those who are not digital or who don't want to become digital or who for different reasons have decided not only to focus on digital media or not on digital at all. So that really we still always need to bring both worlds together. So where can we make things easier? Digitally, and if that's helpful, we should do that, and if not. Let's see what the future brings. I'm always looking towards the monitor here at my display, and here I get questions from our audience. So I've got one question, which is the following. You have great insights into the startup scene. Do you believe that there will be more energy for innovation in these challenging times, or that there is more energy for innovation in these challenging times? I would like to make the question even more provocative, without being cynical.
Braucht es die Krise, Digitalisierung?
So, did we need the crisis for a push towards digitization?
Sicherlich nicht, aber anders gesprochen müssen wir erstmal.
Or to rephrase this, maybe sometimes we need things need to become worse, so that they can become better in the long run. And so maybe this crisis might be a trigger or an accelerator. And I would like to pass this question on to Barbara Heinbockel and then also ask everybody here on the panel. Barbara, maybe you can say something about that. Here we have seen both. So what I'm seeing here, it is an accelerator, but Uwe has also quite practically told us how a lot of demand can also become a barrier to digitization, because I just feel that I don't need to innovate anymore in camping. So the question is, where does the push come from? So it might come from the startup areas for people who are just enthusiastic about technologies, who have ideas. Maybe they are seeing their kind of challenges there. But I could also learn from or see it in the typical push and pull factors. So here on my time display, I see that we are nearly over our time, but I hope that we still have got some time left. Because I would really like to have a concluding round here, round of things. On the second part of the question for our session was a turnaround in tourism. Yes, no, maybe. Stefan, what do you think? Well, I believe in the crisis or the time which is being invested right now. That's really the fun part for us. We are currently seeing in UK and in other European markets that people are thinking about changing business models and focusing on the technical aspects of doing this. So this is something which we look into a lot. And we feel a lot of creative power here for people who are thinking into the future and whom we like to support technically. And on a daily basis, we are working on things which can improve things in the future. So would you say technical turnaround rather maybe? Well, digitization here in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, we are quite advanced. Not in camping. So I would like to make it possible for everybody to make a concluding remark. Yes, no, maybe? No. Clear no. The crisis is only an accelerator. We needed this accelerator, but I would have wished for this thing to happen without an accelerator. Barbara, what's your answer to this question? Yes, no, maybe? I totally agree with Uwe. So what's already there is being accelerated, and we should make use of the opportunities, and it's always nicer to live without a crisis than with a crisis. And Lukas, what do you think? Yes, no, maybe?
Absolut eine Beschleunigung. Viele von uns.
Total acceleration. Many of us fell asleep in 2020 and they woke up in 2025. So many of these things would have happened anyways, but now they are just totally accelerated. So people are telling me that I just need to come to an end. I have gone less over my allocated time than I usually have. So I would like to thank everybody on the panel. It was really, really very enjoyable. Actually, I would like to continue for a little bit, but unfortunately we can't. So see you next time. Thanks a lot. Well, welcome back to the main stage.
And Berlin Festival. Bernd, that was an insightful discussion and you used all your time. That's amazing. So I think we just don't answer the questions right now here because I think you covered all the important points. But give me just one statement. Digital transformation for the tourism industry is important. Why?
It's fully run, and it's a need because of the customers are requiring it. We have changes in customer behaviors, and this is only covering by digital processes.
And transformation,
and
right.
Transformation.
Yes. We will focus on the customer. That's what we keep in mind. Thank you, Bernd.
Thank you, Leah.
Have a great day.